What is up, Star Seeds? I'm Sid, and today we are going to be talking about SADE SATI. So I have seen videos on TikTok lately about SADE SATI, and I was curious, so I looked into this because this is actually an astrology concept that I had not heard of previously. It is rooted in Vedic astrology. It goes into philosophy as well. But basically what SADE SATI is when Saturn in the sky right now is going over in your birth chart where your moon is. We're going to use Western astrology for the sake of just not going back and forth between Western and Vedic in this video, even though I bet you guys know that I usually do use both tropical Western and Vedic sidereal astrology as well as draconic astrology, but we're not even going to talk about that right now. So using tropical Western astrology, my natal moon is in my 6th house in Aquarius, like 22 degrees Aquarius Western astrology. 6th house moon. So when Saturn is in Aquarius, specifically 22 degrees, that is boom right there on my natal moon. But this whole process of the SADE SATI period of your life is about 7.5 years. So it's, since my moon's in the 6th house, it really starts when Saturn gets to the beginning of my 5th house, which, because my moon's in the 6th house in Aquarius, my 5th house is in Capricorn. So once Saturn gets into Capricorn, like it was in 2017, that is really when this rising period of your SADE SATI starts. So during this rising period of your SADE SATI, whenever that is for you, for me, I went through one in 2017, and I'll go through another one in like 2046, I think. Usually you have about 3 in your lifetime, give or take. And people say SADE SATI is worse than a Saturn return. Usually you have 2 or 3 Saturn returns in your lifetime, the first one being the most major, the second one being the second major, right? When you're about 30 and when you're about 60 years old, those are major turning points in your life. If you get to that 90 age mark, it might not be as powerful, or maybe it is for some people. When your Saturn goes to the same spot it was when you were born, your Saturn return takes about 30 years for Saturn to fully go around the zodiac wheel. So when you're about 30 years old, maybe a little bit sooner than that, that's when you have the Saturn return. But the SADE SATI, like I said, it can happen at any age depending on where your moon is when you're born, right? So when Saturn goes into that sign before where your moon is, that's the rising period. This is when you might have conflicts within friendships, work relationships, just kind of disagreements, maybe some enemies are popping up, possibly hidden enemies, but things start to get a little wonky. For me, in 2017, this is when, the beginning of 2017, my first love and I broke up. We had been having some issues a month, maybe a few months prior. It was starting to go downhill, but the beginning of 2017, we broke up for real, and it was really, really tough on me. This was like dark night of the soul period, and I was extremely secluded. I stayed home for a while. I physically felt ill, and then this is when I started going through a spiritual awakening, okay? The rest of 2017, not so much. I had started trying to date people, but nothing super serious until 2018. Mind you, I'm, 15, 16 years old at this time. 2018, I'm still going through this rising period. I have a spiritual awakening. My life kind of crumbles, and I am slowly trying to rebuild it up since then. But my whole thought process was like, what? So that happened. I literally just physically felt ill during this rising time of my SADE SATI. I don't know, like I said, these were like teenage years, very important times of my life. And then you get to up until 2020, when that is when COVID hit the whole entire world, this was the peak of my SADE SATI. Saturn moved into Aquarius in 2020, and that is also when I was in a terrible situation, extremely traumatic situation, terrible environment, and I was pregnant. I got pregnant at the beginning of 2020 in this terrible situation in Flint, and I'm going through the peak of my SADE SATI, and COVID has struck the whole world. If that doesn't say SADE SATI, I don't know what does. This is when you can have not so great relationships. That was definitely the case for me. Like I said, my moon is in the 6th house. So during this rising period of SADE SATI, I've got 5th house energy going on. 5th house is kind of complicated to explain, but it has this childlike, creative, flingy personality to it. That matches the energy that was going on with me in my life during 2017, 2018, 2019. It was lots of fun, flingy, and thought process, how I learn. I was figuring that out again. I was getting deep into spiritual stuff, but it was a learning curve for me is how I would describe it. 2017 through 2019, I was either hanging out with friends, specifically guys, or I was at home on my computer researching astrology. Very surprised that I didn't hear about SADE SATI during this time, but honestly, I'm very glad that I didn't, because I probably would have psyched myself out had I known it back then. So 2020, when Saturn is in Aquarius using Western astrology, for me, it's 6th house energy, because that's where my moon is, that's where my Saturn is. This is the peak of my SADE SATI. Like I said, COVID and all of this crazy stuff is going on. I'm in this terrible situation, and it has 6th house energy. Service to other people. I was taking care of somebody this whole time, not just the baby in my belly, but other people as well. I'm in the peak of my SADE SATI when my son is a year old, 2 years old. I think this whole process was taking, and it took me a couple years to really kind of get my spark back, try to pull myself together more, stop having messy ponytails and absolutely no makeup for over a year. Like, I started to act more like the old Sydney, but a new, mature version, the new Sydney after having a baby. But there was still some drama and getting used to things during that 2020, 2021, even 2022 period. And then you get to the setting period of your SADE SATI, when Saturn goes into the sign after, so in Pisces. Right now, Saturn is like 25 degrees Pisces. We're about to go into Aries. So I am just now getting out of my SADE SATI. The setting period of it has, using this SADE SATI calculator, recently ended like a few months ago. But if you look at where Saturn is, I mean, it is still in Pisces, and that's in my 7th house. And I find that interesting because I have been prioritizing trying to form meaningful relationships with people the past year, I would say. Saturn entered Pisces in 2023, and I feel like that was really when I had put myself back together. It's all on a spectrum, of course, but if you wanted to kind of say this is when I felt more like myself, it would probably be that 2023, 2024, 2025 now. And I've also prioritized, I've had this kind of yearning to form meaningful relationships with other people. I've had this yearning to really get a plot of land, get this homestead going that would look easier and be easier to accomplish with more of, people close to me who are willing to do that together. Still during this setting phase of SADE SATI, you can still have some financial issues, just all of your hard work doesn't feel like it's necessarily paying off. You feel like there's still kind of a blockage there, and I would be lying if I felt like I didn't really feel like that these past few years of my SADE SATI. So I don't want astrology to dictate my life. I don't want it to dictate your life. But looking back at these trends in my life from 2017 to 2025, it's very obvious that it was hectic, chaotic, especially during that 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020 year period. I feel like after that, it got a lot easier, but also in my life, I had a baby the end of 2020, so I womaned up, you know what I mean? Obviously, that is going to influence the expression of the astrology. What is going on in your life, your attitude, your mood, your emotions, your situation and environment is going to affect how you express the astrology of it. That's why you can't group people into 12 categories. That's not what astrology is. There's so much more to it. SADE SATI is just one of these so many pieces to the astrology puzzle, okay? So more astrology videos to come. If you guys know me, you know that I kind of like to get into more astrology concepts in the spring especially. So I'm sure there'll be more astrology videos then. But I do want to talk about some of these other astrology concepts that I have been aware of for quite a while, like dashas and antardashas, that I haven't done YouTube videos on yet. So that might be the next video. And then after that, we're doing a Q&A. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I do intuitive and astrological readings. I don't go based off of book astrology definitions. That's just not me. I'm an intuitive astrologer. I look at astrology, I look at your birth charts, I look at your dasha charts, and I use those charts to spark my intuition. So we talk about possible career paths, natural talents, possible friend, family dynamics. But if you want somebody who is like an astrologer, that might not be me. I am very into astrology, but I'm more about using my intuition and what I'm picking up on, because that is more important to me than these book definitions, because somebody just wrote those book definitions down. Yeah, they studied a ton of charts before writing those definitions down, but somebody discovered that. There's always more astrology concepts to discover. But what's way freaking quicker than that? Your intuition, your own psychic abilities that we all have. I just trust mine and tap into mine easier than most people. It's the only thing that makes me different. But so I do these intuitive and astrological Akashic record readings. I call them Akashic record readings because I'm tapping into that. Whatever you want to call that, the universe, my higher self, maybe your higher self, whatever you want to call it. That's what I'm tapping into. I don't go to any like external weird sources. I don't even like to say I go to my spirit guides, because really it's me. It's my higher self. It's my intuition. That's what it is. Our spirit guides are looking out for us all the time. Maybe they're giving us some wisdom, but that's not my main source of information. It's just the stuff floating around in the air that you can tap into. It's energy, it's vibes, and we can all do it, okay? I also talk a lot about past lives in these readings and soul themes, soul archetypes, reoccurring themes within your life that you have done before in previous lives, why you might do things a certain way now, what I feel like you should get into if you're not already, or if you're already into these things, these weird oddball things that I'm mentioning, that means that you are on the right path. So let me know if you're interested in that. Like I said, mainly about past lives, but any questions that you have, I like to answer to the best of my ability. Usually those answers are pretty general, or you already kind of have your own gut feeling, inkling on it. Trust yourself, trust your intuition. You really don't need me. But if you want some clarity, or if you want my opinion on certain things, that's where these readings kind of come in handy. I do them on a donation basis, okay? So donations are greatly appreciated. I don't make any money off of YouTube yet. The only way I make money from doing my stuff right now is if you make a donation, if you get a reading from me, if you get a qhht, quantum healing hypnosis technique, past life regression, where I relax you enough to possibly be able to say stuff like this, or just answer questions from your higher self, or if you give me a donation because I have an astrology course, an ET races course, and an intuition divinations course. If you want those videos, there's 13 videos, about 40 minutes long a piece for each of these courses. 13 40-minute astrology videos, 13 40-minute alien videos, 13 40-minute intuition divination videos. They're not public on YouTube. They're unlisted on YouTube, which means I have to send you the link if you want to watch them, because I didn't want to flood my YouTube, and I wanted a cool way to teach a course that was more in a course format than a YouTube video format. I want to redo them eventually, but I also need to make a little bit of money, so I have to go work a regular matrix job still. I would like to quit that, but because I'm not making enough money from this yet, I can't do that because I'm a mom and I have responsibilities. So thank you for listening to my rant. Hopefully you guys learned something new today about SADE SATI. A lot of people say it's scarier than a Saturn return. I'm not trying to scare you guys. I'm just trying to inform you about this cool new astrology concept that I didn't even know existed. So go look up when your SADE SATI was. When was it rising? When was it peaking? When was it setting? What was going on in your life during those times? Are you in one right now? Do you have one coming up? Let me know. Peace out.